Welcome back to Mr. Bowler's class. I've got another video for you. This video is on the assignment called Figures of Speech in First Quarter. What we're going to be doing in this assignment is we're going to be looking for examples of figurative language in the crossover. We're also going to start practicing writing our citations in these assignments. Now, if you're looking at the assignment instructions, it says, writers, especially those who write poetry, use figures of speech in their writing. Figurative language creates imagery and helps the story appeal to the reader's physical senses. Find examples of the following figures of speech in the literary device, allusion, in the first quarter of the crossover. There's an example here of how to cite your examples correctly. It includes the author's last name and a page number. Since we're using the ebook on Sora, we're not going to have page numbers. So instead of writing down the page number, I'll have you write down the title of the poem that the example of figurative language comes from. A lot of these types of figurative language will sound familiar to you. They might be a review. You might already know them pretty well. But I'm going to go over them just briefly for you. In question 1, it asks us to find a simile. A simile is where you compare two different things using a word like or the word as. For example, he ran as fast as a speeding bullet. He flew like an eagle. These are examples of similes because they use the word like or the word as. A metaphor is basically a simile minus the like or as. So instead of saying he ran like a cheetah, you would say that dude is a cheetah. Of course, that makes it sound like he's cheating when he runs. But the example that it gives in the assignment is the baby was a sweet little cupcake. And anytime you use a term of endearment like honey or sweetie or cupcake, you might be using a metaphor. You are my sunshine. Anytime you find that direct comparison without using like or as, such as saying, I don't know, that the gym was a circus, then that's a metaphor. 'Cause baby, you're a firework. A hyperbole is an extreme exaggeration used for effect. You've probably said the sentence, oh my gosh, I'm starving. And odds are that you weren't actually starving in that moment. You experienced some hunger because it'd been a while since you'd had a donut.
Oh, that is so ghetto. It was the worst. Oh my God.
Hyperbole is just that. It's an exaggeration.
You see these toilets? They're ginormous.
You're going to notice as we go through these figures of speech that some of them have overlaps. You're going to see cliches that are also idioms. You're going to see metaphors that are also hyperbole. For the assignment, you're just going to want to make sure that your example fits the category of the question. So that's a hyperbole. Hyperboles are very common. You'll start being able to spot them, especially if you pay attention to the news or politics. They're all over the place. An idiom is a phrase or a saying that has a figurative meaning that we all understand, but if you break it down literally, it stops making sense. A common example I like to use of an idiom is, I got your back. When I say I got your back, that doesn't mean that I literally possess your spine.
Wait, oh my God!
We understand that I have your back means that you have my support, and I'm going to help you if you need it. The idiom example listed on your assignment, it's raining cats and dogs. People don't say that very much anymore, but it is a good example of an idiom. You're going to see lots of idioms in the crossover. Oftentimes they are going to be terms that are used in basketball or slang. These are idioms. Question 5, onomatopoeia. These are words that just sound like what they mean. So words like crash, bang, zoom. These are all words that make the sound that they're describing. These are all onomatopoeias. Personification, if you break down personification, it's pretty simple. We're personifying something, like a personinator.
Inator.
Personification, it's a literary device where you just take something that's not a person and you make it do something that a person would do.
You know that never works.
A common example I see of personification in today's world is saying something like, my computer hates me, or my phone is stupid. Your computer and your phone don't actually have thoughts and feelings. They're not stupid and they don't hate you. But the way we like to describe the world is we personify it. So we're going to look for examples of personification in the crossover first quarter as well. A cliché is basically an overplayed idiom. I'll say that again. A cliché is essentially an overplayed idiom. So let's say you're listening to a new song on the radio, and it sounds really cool. You like this song. And let's say you hear that song 120 more times. By that 121st time you hear the song, it's overplayed. You're tired of it. It doesn't mean anything to you anymore. Clichés are basically sayings that get repeated to the point that they're overplayed, and they start to lose their meaning and impact.
When you're in a store, you're trying to buy something, and you get up to the cashier, and they start trying to scan it, doesn't scan, won't scan, they don't know how much it is. 10 times out of 10, a knucklehead in that situation will go, "Oh yeah? Must be free."
Some other common examples of clichés in English would be, you can't judge a book by its cover. Don't buy the first thing that you see. Any saying that's overused in a certain situation is going to sound cliché.
You know what? No.
So there's no comprehensive list of all the clichés that exist in the English language. In fact, for certain groups, some things are cliché when somebody from outside that group would hear it and think that actually sounds unique.
Fitna. Girl, bye.
Most, if not all, clichés are going to overlap with some other type of figurative language. If I say guys like him are a dime a dozen, that's a metaphor, but it's also a cliché because that's an overused idiom. It's an overused saying. The next one, oxymoron. Now I'll give you a fair warning. The oxymoron example that comes up in the first quarter of the crossover comes kind of late in the chapter, so just keep your eyes open for that. But an oxymoron is simply when you have two contradictory ideas, when you have two contradictory terms that side by side still somehow make sense, even though they should cancel each other out, such as jumbo shrimp, deafening silence. See, that doesn't totally make sense. It's an oxymoron. Now our last one, illusion. It's not necessarily figurative language, but it is a literary device that gets used a lot. And we're going to see a lot of examples of it here in the crossover in the first quarter. Basically, anytime you refer either explicitly or implicitly to a person or a historical event, a work of literature, or a movie, this is where you're making an allusion. Now, an allusion that I heard a lot when I was into rock climbing as a kid was people would see me rock climbing, and I got pretty good at it, and they would see me rock climbing well and say, "Oh man, that's like Spider-Man." Another common allusion I get now that I'm into skateboarding is Tony Hawk.
That felt pretty good.
These are allusions to popular figures. We also make allusions to historical events or speeches. Anytime somebody says, "I have a dream," they're making an allusion to Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech at the March on Washington.
I have a dream.
Anytime someone says 407 years ago, they're making an allusion to President Lincoln's address at Gettysburg. Now, allusions can also come in the form of quotes or references to popular songs. So anytime one of your friends quotes a song lyric at you, they're actually making an allusion. So what I want you to do with this assignment, just look for at least one of each of these examples of figurative language and the literary device allusion. Write them down in that quiz, submit the quiz. There are going to be tons of examples of figurative language in first quarter. I'm only asking you to identify one of each. I hope this video has been helpful. Remember, you can always reach out to me via email or message me on Canvas. One other thing I want to plug is that if you need additional help and you are stuck at home, we can set up a conference in person or over video chat on Fridays via Zoom or Google Meets, or I can even set up a conference on Canvas. So just contact me to get that set up. Thanks for watching the video. I hope it's been helpful, and hopefully I'll see you soon.